Live from WTOC, the Southeast news leader. The News Now starts on WTOC Plus.
Well, happy Monday. Thanks for joining us here for the news on WTOC Plus. I'm digital anchor Jude Binkley, joined with meteorologist Andrew Gorton. We hope you all enjoyed Christmas and the warm temps that came with it, because Andrew, it sounds like temperatures are really going to drop in the next few days.
They are. We're transitioning cooler even tonight. So let's take a look at what we have out there for you today. You wouldn't know it by looking at the current conditions at the airport. We're in the upper 60s, latest wind gust of 23. So of note, that wind from the southwest, it's bringing in those higher dew points in the 60s, feeling a little muggy for this time of the year. Blue line, though, on your screen, that's the cold front moving across Georgia and South Carolina. That's going to usher in the colder air as we go into tonight. But timing this out, we've got some rain heading toward the Savannah and Hilton Head area after that top of the noon. You can see some of that rain already going through Hazelhurst. It's gone through the Vidalia area, Statesboro right now. Next up would be Glenville, then Jessup. So we're going to be watching that as we go through, say, the next 2 hours or so. There's a look at it right now as well, and big difference there between 70 and Baxley ahead of that front, 57 Vidalia right on the cusp of it. So we're still above it. Temperatures above average here today for now. That changes more so tonight. So watching that line of showers come through between noon and 1 for I-95, but it's going to linger a little bit further off to the south with the shape of the coast and it being further south. It looks like maybe rain lingering in Camden, Glynn counties, 2 o'clock, but then pushing offshore by 3, 4 o'clock. Pretty much everybody's quiet. So this is not an afternoon issue. It's more of a midday. Rain's going to be out of here within the next 3 hours or so. And then it's the wind we're talking about. Those wind gusts, 25 to 30. We've already had some wind gusts kind of in this range. The sustained wind will be more so from the northwest after the front itself goes through, which will happen by about, 2 o'clock for most people. Then we're looking at temperatures tumbling. We were near 60 at daybreak today, almost 30 degrees colder tomorrow for some people. So I don't want you to be surprised, a shock to the system there. And you factor in the wind with this because there will be some lingering wind. And here's frozen front
there we
for
go.
you. Yeah, there he is.
It's been a while.
Feeling like the 20s across the region. If you have friends up in the Atlanta area, you're going to be feeling like the teens. Up in Asheville, of course, a higher elevation, feeling like a balmy 6 degrees Tuesday at 7 a.m. So looking ahead to your Tuesday, those wind chills in the upper 20s temporarily, but then it's one of those days that it really just doesn't warm up all that much. We're going to be in the 50s into the afternoon, and that's it. Much colder than where we're at right now. So we're breezy. That rain goes through here today, and then we see the colder air settle in. Going to be actually colder on your Wednesday morning with 20s around, but less wind, but colder. So make sure you're protecting your pipes, things like that. How about New Year's Eve? We talk about a little bit of fun there. Ringing in the new year, calling for temperatures lower 40s, no rain, westerly wind, probably about 5 to 10 miles an hour or so. So we're looking good here as we ring in the new year. If you're going to go to one of the fireworks shows across the area, wouldn't see a big issue with that. And then the next thing would be rain chances on Saturday, but kind of a bit topsy-turvy here for the next couple of days as the colder air comes in, but then leaves by the weekend.
Cool. So big takeaway, if you are out celebrating, maybe wear a jacket, wear a coat. Yeah. We don't drop anything here for New Year's, right? It's mostly fireworks shows.
Well, they have in the past. I don't know if anybody officially is here. I know some establishments on River Street have and things like that, but Plant Riverside and the waterfront folks have a nice fireworks show. Gotcha. So it's more the fireworks versus your attention's toward the water versus toward a building. So
understandable. Nice. Man, in Boise we would drop a 2,000-pound potato every year in front of the Capitol, and that was always a cool sight to see. We do the New Year's shows for my old station, and I'd be out in the crowd. That was always fun.
I'll have to look into that though. I didn't want to lie to you, so I didn't know for sure. I kind of just got back into town, didn't know exactly what everyone's doing, but we'll figure it out. Hope you dress for the cold tomorrow.
Will do. All right. Well, speaking of weather and meteorological phenomenons, Georgia reported an earthquake over the weekend, believe it or not. It's a 2.1 magnitude earthquake. It happened out in West Warrenton in Warren County. That's just about between Atlanta and Augusta, a little closer to Augusta. This all happened Sunday around 12:52 p.m. Andrew and I were just talking about it before the show, but we do technically have 3 fault lines here in Georgia. You just don't see earthquakes that often, and when you do, they typically are the smaller magnitudes like a 2.1. Well, we're going to continue with our top stories here on WTOC Plus, and we do have something just into our newsroom. Police are investigating after a young teenager was killed in a hit-and-run over the weekend. Here is what we know. This is just into our newsroom from the Chatham County Police Department. They say that a 14-year-old boy was killed. This happened last night, Sunday night, around 7 near Glade and Ferguson. They say the teenager was riding an electric bike when he was hit. That boy was taken to a local hospital where he was then pronounced dead. Now, CCPD says at the time they don't have a description of the suspect's vehicle, but they are using investigative techniques to try to identify a suspect. They're asking anyone who may have home surveillance or doorbell camera footage from that area, again, Glade and Ferguson, to submit it to CCPD. You can do that on the Chatham County Police website, or you could also anonymously call Crime Stoppers at that number on your screen, 912-234-2020. Well, continuing on the crime watch, Savannah police are investigating after a man was shot and killed at the Fraser Homes last night. That shooting was at the 600 block of West Gwinnett Street, and the gunfire happened around 6:20 last night. SPD confirmed one man was shot, and he later died from his injuries. Anyone with information is asked to call Crime Stoppers or use the SPD mobile app where you can stay anonymous. Well, several businesses and hundreds of people showed up in support of a young man's family after he was tragically killed just about 2 weeks ago while visiting family in the hostess city. You'll remember that heartbreaking story we brought you last week. Taisha Abdullah and her family lost their loved one to gun violence. On December 14th, Antonio Thornton Jr. was shot and killed inside of a Bloomingdale apartment complex. His family calls him TJ, and TJ was visiting from north of Atlanta to see family in Savannah when he was shot and killed. The family held a graduation ceremony Saturday in his honor, as TJ was set to graduate high school in May. Henry Street Bistro hosted the event for the family, and so many community members and businesses donated to make it all possible.
Savannah alone, they have came out and helped me. They supported me. They donated to a GoFund for me. They sent prayers, text messages. It was just so much of love and support from them. I cry every second for my child. If you have a child that's dealing with guns and gun violence, hanging with the wrong crowd, you should stop it. Show them me, a grieving mother that's hurting, that won't see her child ever again. I won't get a text message or call or anything. But what I do have right now is love and support from the city of Savannah and all over. Just being out here in Savannah right now is just amazing. Just the love and support I've got is amazing.
Food, tables, chairs, and a photo booth for family photos were all donated, all to help the family through the grieving process. It was a community effort, and everyone showed out for TJ. We also spoke with the business manager of the spot about donating that venue free of charge.
To make sure the only thing the family needed to do was just show up. Just show up, that's it. Because we know that this was already extreme for them, that they already had enough on their plate just to plan his funeral. So we wanted to take all the stress away from them as far as taking care of after the funeral.
And the family is now planning TJ's funeral. Many people in the community have been donating to help put him to rest. And we do have a link to where you could help and donate. That's in our web story at WTOC.com. And following that ceremony, the GBI announced an arrest in TJ's murder, a 16-year-old from Savannah named Franklin James Jr. James Jr. has been arrested on multiple charges, including felony murder, aggravated assault, armed robbery, and 2 counts of possession of a firearm. He's been booked into the Savannah Regional Youth Detention Center. Despite being a juvenile, James will be prosecuted as an adult. However, a mugshot will not be available for him because he is a minor. Stay tuned as more developments come in this case. Well, we're continuing coverage on the Professional Hockey Players Association. The ECHL announced yesterday that they have reached a tentative deal on a new collective bargaining agreement. This all comes after the cancellation of ECHL games over the weekend and a strike by Savannah Ghost Pirates players, which forced the cancellation of Savannah's Star Wars night at Enmarket Arena on Friday. The agreement still needs to be ratified by the Players Association membership and approved by the league's Board of Governors. Pending votes, players are expected to report to their teams in good faith and prepare to return to the ice. Well, the State Department of Public Safety says 13 people died in crashes during the Christmas travel day period. Officers also cited 239 people for driving under the influence. That's up from over 100 people as of Friday's count. Another 444 people are facing citations for distracted driving. And we are just days away from New Year's Eve now, and many people across the coastal empire are gearing up to ring in 2026. As the festivities begin, officials are urging caution for those who plan on drinking while they celebrate. December is designated as National Impaired Driving Prevention Month because of Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, which are two of the most celebrated days of the year. Not only are they some of the most celebrated, but they're also the deadliest. The National Highway Safety Administration recorded more than 4,900 drunk driving crashes from 2019 to 2023. Officials say if your holiday celebrations include alcohol or anything else that could impact your ability to drive, you should plan ahead and arrange a ride home with a sober driver. AAA is once again offering its free Tow-to-Go service from now through 6 a.m. on January 2nd for all Georgians. Tow-to-Go is a last resort option. If needed, operators will tow impaired drivers and their cars to a safe location within a 10-mile radius. And as you get ready to ring in 2026, health officials say this is the deadliest week of the year for your heart due to the stress of the holidays and New Year. The American Heart Association says the last week of December has the highest number of deaths from heart disease. It's called holiday heart syndrome, which can be triggered by stress and overindulgence. The syndrome causes heart palpitations, shortness of breath, chest pressure, and can last for 20 to 48 hours. Dr. Iva Smolens at MUSC says your heart can jump 160 to 180 beats per minute. That's twice what's healthy and feels like you're running a marathon even when sitting. We've also hearing from Trident health officials who warn it's important to watch what you eat.
Will end up in congestive heart failure because they're eating foods that are higher in sodium, eating bigger portions, eating more sweets, and it ends up putting them into heart failure where they retain fluid and then they end up having to go in the hospital. Will end up in congestive heart failure.
Now, 5 minutes of breathing exercises could save your life this holiday season. Doctors say if you experience symptoms, don't wait and call 911. After the holidays, they also recommend doing a heart checkup. Well, stick around. Coming up here on WTOC Plus, we're looking at some of the major political headlines from 2025 right here in Georgia. That's coming up right after this 90-second break. Well, welcome back to the news on WTOC Plus. I'm digital anchor Jude Binkley. From beginning to end, it was a big political year right here in Georgia. From former President Jimmy Carter's passing at the age of 100 to Marjorie Taylor Greene announcing her resignation and President Trump honoring one of UGA's own. Doug Reardon gives us a glimpse back at 2025.
The year began with an ending.
Jimmy Carter's enduring attribute, character.
Jimmy Carter, Georgia's only president, was bid a final farewell in Washington before being laid to rest in his hometown of Plains, Georgia, after 100 years of life and service. Days later, President Donald Trump signed the first legislation of his second term, an immigration bill named for murdered Georgia college student Laken Riley. Riley was killed by an undocumented man while jogging. The bill would bolster immigration enforcement nationwide. Georgia again made national headlines when confusion over the state's 6-week abortion ban led to a brain-dead mother, Adriana Smith, being kept alive because she was pregnant. Doctors didn't want to conflict with the state's laws, and Smith was kept on life support until her baby was delivered, sparking national debate about abortion. The Atlanta-based CDC had a turbulent year. In August, Director Susan Menares was abruptly fired, and layoffs followed, all part of an effort to drastically pare down the federal workforce.
Yeah, we're frustrated, we're angry, but we're really just sad.
Thousands of workers were laid off from the CDC, many later being reinstated. The longest ever government shutdown threatened people's food assistance for thousands and the health care of over 1 million Georgians as lawmakers squabbled over expiring Obamacare subsidies. The shutdown lasting 43 days.
I refuse to be a battered wife, hoping it all goes away and gets better.
And in a stunning end-of-the-year announcement, Firebrand, Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene resigned. The lawmaker saying her feud with President Donald Trump, once her fierce ally, over health care and the release of the Epstein files led to threats on her life.
Well, today, 1 year ago, the nation and the Peach State lost a highly influential man. Jimmy Carter, the 39th President of the United States, died peacefully Sunday, December 29th, 1 year ago today. He passed at his home in Plains, Georgia, surrounded by his family. Though he served only one term in office, he went on to a distinguished second act of humanitarian work, and he lived long enough to become the oldest former president in U.S. history.
My name is Jimmy.
Turning now to consumer news, it is a holiday tradition. Shoppers return to the stores in the days after Christmas to return gifts that weren't quite what they wanted. For those shipping their gifts back, Dave Makoff reports they could be in for a surprise, something called a return fee.
And now you're telling me that you're going to charge me $11.99 or whatever it is to return items? Are you out of your mind?
Hassle-free online returns may be a thing of the past. Most major retailers are now charging customers to return items even if they're unopened and in perfect condition.
Who wants to lose money, especially not in this time and in this economy?
$850 billion. That's how much Americans will return to the stores this year. Nearly 20% of the stuff we buy online just ends up in the return pile.
Return fee?
Macy's now charges $9.99 for mail-in returns. TJ Maxx and Marshalls charge $11.99. Other stores, including J.Crew, Abercrombie & Fitch, H&M, and Zara, all now charge fees between $4 and $8. It can now cost as much as $45 to return certain electronics at Best Buy. Amazon, too, has tightened its policy, charging some customers unless they use its box-free in-person drop-off option.
Merchants now are under a tremendous amount of cost pressure. They're really trying to offset some of the costs that they face in returns by asking shoppers to share some of the burden.
David Sobey co-founded his company, Happy Returns, that uses these AI robots to help make returns easier.
Is there any way to avoid these fees?
Well, the best way to avoid them is just to read the retailer's return policy before you check out in the first place.
Okay, there is some good news here. If you physically get in your car and come down here to the mall, most in-store returns are still free. Dave Malkoff, CBS News, Atlanta.
All right, well, this is a pretty unique story. Right now, a group of Buddhist monks is making its way to our nation's capital, and those monks are traveling on foot. Today marks day 66 of their journey, spreading their message of unity and kindness. Now, our sister station caught up with them in Luthersville. That's a small town in Meriwether County, just about an hour or so south of Atlanta. They left Texas in late October, began their walk, and spent the last 10 days in Alabama. Now, plenty of people came out to watch yesterday as the monks moved through, saying they just wanted to catch a glimpse.
Well, I have seen a lot of sufferings around us, many years, and so I think that this is the right time for us to do something to support our country.
I really don't know the reason. All I know is for peace, and I'm thinking they're trying to make peace within the world.
And that group continued along State Highway 54 and 4 hours later arrived in Sharpsburg, where they're spending the night. They are expected to walk through Clayton County today. And finally, Christmas may be over, but wait, don't toss that tree just yet, because Oland Island is accepting real Christmas trees. It's all for a good cause. The trees will be for animal care, conservation, and enrichment, as you can see on your screen right now. You can drop off your tree during regular hours, which are 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. until Friday, January 16th. They will be closed New Year's Day, however. Staff are asking for no spray-painted trees, no fake snow, no hooks on them, or, of course, no fake trees. So head on over this week and get rid of that tree so I think that's a bison, could have some fun with it. All right, and with that, we are going to wrap things up here for the news on WTOC Plus. We'll be back in just about 30-40 minutes for another round of stories during the news at noon. And in the meantime, you can always head on over to our website to get the latest updates at WTOC.com. Thanks for watching, and here's Local News Live.